Hi creative friends, welcome back this week for another tutorial. In this one we're going to be doing watercolor roses. So I just want to show you how I put together 3 roses on this paper. So I start with the letter C and a backward C, and that's going to be the center of the rose. Now just take note on how much water I put on. You can put more or less, but we're just going to keep going around these center petals using the same C motion. And this flower, I'm starting with the pearl red color. For my rose, I'm still using the Koi watercolor paints, and I will leave a link in the description box below for everything that I've used in this video. Know that it is an affiliate link, and I will get a small percentage, and that just helps me continue to create these tutorials and videos for you. There is no upcharge to you. It's just their way of thanking me for sharing what they have. So you can see I just put in the C shapes. I'm going over a few of them. You don't have to. I just know the look I want to go for. But as you can see, the rose is starting to take shape, and it's looking pretty, if you ask me. This is something so simple that anyone can do. If you can't do this with the watercolor paint, start with the watercolor pencils and try that. You can try to just draw your shape on and use the watercolor pencils to fill it in. But if you really want to go straight to watercolor paints, then by all means do that. We're going to start the second flower with the same process, and with this color I'm using the pearl pink. And I'm just going to start with a C and then a backward C, and that's how the center of the flower is going to begin. Now I'm doing this in my Moleskine sketchbook, but I did do another version on watercolor paper, and I used that for a card that I was creating. It turned out really beautiful. If you want to see the links to the merchandise that I have put these flowers on, you can also check out the links in the description box below for merchandise if this is something that you like. But we're going to be taking these watercolor flower roses, and we're going to be turning them into watercolor doodle flowers, of course, because you know, with me, I like everything doodle. Or if you don't know that by now, you're going to start to know that when you look on this channel. I love to doodle, letter, and draw. So by all means, if you like to learn about doodle, lettering, and drawing, by all means, subscribe to this channel and click the bell for notifications so you know when I upload a new video. I teach beginners how to create using whatever they have, whether it be watercolors, watercolor pencils, just a pencil, a pen, markers, whatever it is that you have. You can recreate everything in any medium, whether it's acrylics, oils, watercolors, markers, whatever you have, you can recreate this. So now we're starting with our third rose, and we're doing the orange color. It's pearl orange, and I probably should have let the color just pretty much dry before I started nesting this one in between them. If you notice, it does bleed. The wet colors will bleed onto each other, so the pink or the red from the first rose will bleed into this rose, and the pink will also. But I like how it turned out, so I kept it like this. The version that I recreated, I did wait for it to dry a little bit, or it wasn't as wet. You can also dab it with a paper towel if you don't want it that wet. There's plenty of things that you can do. So I'm going to go off to my leaves here, and I'm just using on this Koi watercolor palette. there's 3 different color pearl greens. So I choose one, a lighter one, and I use the darker one. Both. I use both light and dark on this to create it. But use your imagination. You don't want green leaves, use blue leaves. It doesn't really matter. You can choose whatever colors you want. That's the fun of creating your own watercolor print. Take notice this week, I did not speed this video up at all. This is real time, so you can see just how long it took me to create this watercolor flowers, these roses, these watercolor roses. You could see it took me around 12 minutes to complete. So this is something that's really doable for anybody. Obviously, if you're a beginner and you're going to go a little bit slow, that's fine. If you're more advanced, you want to go refined, obviously you're going to go refined. But this is just to show anyone that they can do this. You can create something so beautiful and gift it to your friend, whatever you want to do. So if you like this so far, please give it a thumbs up and comment below and let me know how you're liking this tutorial. If you want to see more of these with real watercolors, if you really liked the watercolor pencils, if you want me to go back to drawing, whatever it is that you're looking to see, I listen to everybody. I try to comment on every remark that comes through. So by all means, let your voice be heard in the comment section, and I will try to respond to each and every comment. So you can see how I used a few different color variations in the leaves on this watercolor roses that we did here. Know that this turned out just a little bit different than the one that I created for the card, but it's all the same. They don't have to look the same. That's the nice thing about it. So now we're going to go off to use our water resistant marker. And if you want to know what I use, it's down below in the description box. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to outline each section, and I'm going to highlight where the white areas are. So I'm going to outline the dark areas so that they look prominent, and you're going to see the white areas white. And I think this just lends to it giving it a little bit of pop. It's not muted, but if you like the watercolor look and you do not want to put the marker in it, by all means don't. Or you can even use another color paint or whatever you have. I did let these dry before I started with my water resistant marker, but you can see how it's turning out. I'm just outlining everything, and I think that it's kind of like what I like. I like the doodle-esque kind of features of the painting, so I think the black fine line marker just adds a pop to the painting itself. Now this is in my sketchbook. I have a Moleskine sketchbook, watercolor sketchbook, and I do have a link for that in the description box below. But you're going to see coming up here where these flowers meet, how I told you they kind of bled into each other. So that is what happens when your watercolors are wet. But you can see how I remedied this, and I just go where the petal is supposed to be with the marker. And I think it looks great. It just looks like a shadow on the other flower, which is perfect because that flower is tucked in. The third flower is tucked in under the first flower. So you'll see what I mean in the end, how it all turns out. But same thing with the second flower, that's overlapping that third flower. And so I do the same thing wherever it bled. I go wherever the petal was supposed to be. And I try and follow the lines of the paint as much as I can. Only in those sections did I overrule it. But that's what makes this your own. So you can create whatever you like. You don't have to create something identical to this. But if you want to make roses, this is a simple way to make them. It's very simple. Just start with a C shape in the backwards C and just keep going around as petals. Use as much or a little paint and pigment as you want. for yours. And if you don't have watercolors, you can use markers. You can use watercolor markers. You can use watercolor pencils, regular markers. The best thing to do is, if you're doing a cluster of 3 like this, is to use different colors and different shades of a color variation, so you get the distinguished look of 3 separate roses that are on your paper, if that makes sense to you. So comment in the section below. Let me know what you think. Are you going to try this? I'd love to know. Give me a thumbs up if you like this. By all means, subscribe to my channel and click the bell for notifications when I make a new upload. I'd love to have you as part of this channel and what we create here. I'm working on getting 1,000 subscribers so I can do this live for you here on YouTube. But until then, you can watch me over on my Facebook page or Periscope, or just follow along with the YouTube videos if you like. Live is certainly fun to do. But now you can see how I go off and do the leaves. So there is variation of color in these leaves, and you're going to see how I separate it. Kind of something you wouldn't think to do with a leaf. Usually you're doing veining, but for these leaves I just went along the color variation, where the dark and the light merge is what I created. Something a little bit different. So you can see how that works here. So here, I don't know if it's easy for you to see, there's a different blotch of color in the center, and I just created from there. And I really think that these started to turn out really, really nice. This is my sketchbook. Obviously, I recreate from my sketchbook, but this is how you learn. So if you don't have a sketchbook, by all means, get one. Get started, and I'd like you to create something that you're going to recreate and give as a gift. And make sure to always sign your artwork, because people need to know it's you. So if you like this, by all means, give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe to my channel, and check out these 2 videos for more on watercolors and the watercolor flowers. And I will see you again next week.